Welcome book lovers to Creatives on the Couch, presented by ASJ Publishing. I'm your host, Christine Medaffery, and today I'm speaking with Brett Crandell about the first in the series about Phillip the Ferret. And in his first adventure, Phillip the Ferret learns to save. Welcome to the couch, Brett.
Thank you very much, Christine. Pleasure to be here.
Great. So, Phillip the Ferret Learns to Save is your first children's book.
That's correct,
But
yeah.
not your first foray into writing.
No, my first foray into writing was fantasy. I'm into the fantasy genre. So I've got the Gate series, that's the third book of the Gate series there. So I'm currently writing the fourth of the Gate series, which will be the conclusion of that series. So I guess that's where my passion lies in fantasy. That's what got me sort of into writing. But yeah, this is my first kids book with Phillip the Ferret. So yeah.
So how did it all start? Just the interest in writing? Was it at school? Did you love writing? Did you love reading?
Yeah, in primary school I loved to write. My teacher would often get me to write sort of short stories, and those short stories would just blow out into 100-page stories and
epics. Ben-Hur,
that's it.
War and Peace.
Yeah, just had this passion of writing. Once I started writing something, it would just have to keep going, and it just one thought would lead into another, and it would just blossom into this great big long story. So I always had trouble writing short stories.
So you really couldn't contain yourself.
No.
Once you started,
Yeah.
Once you started, it was just a natural thing for you.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, my primary school teacher actually said to me that I'd make a good writer one day, and that sort of stuck with me, that thought, and I went off into other things. I became a boilermaker for 10 years, and I owned a cleaning business for about 8 years or so.
So what was your thinking there? Was your thinking that writing isn't a good way to earn a living? Because obviously for a lot of us it ain't. But
yeah.
Was that your thinking? I'll get a steady, normal job?
That was pretty much what my father said to me, actually.
Uh-huh.
He said that there's not much money in writing. He was an electrician by trade, so he's always like,
learn a trade
sort of thing. I didn't want to become an electrician because my oldest brother was an electrician, my father was as well, so I'm like,
so you had to rebel.
Yeah, I want to do something different.
I'll rebel.
Yeah,
I'll go into boilermaking.
So I ended up getting into boilermaking, and that was, it was fun for a while, and but yeah, that my love of writing eventually sort of came out when I turned about 30. I'm just like, no, I've got this story in my head, I've got to start writing it, and if I don't publish it, I've got to start writing, I've got to get this story down.
That's really
writing.
interesting to me, that it's almost, the way you describe it is like this story was in your head bothering you in a way, sort of festering. Do you know how it began? What sparked the initial inspiration for the Gate series?
Yeah, it would have been like when I was in my early teens, I reckon the story had been in my head for. I used to love playing like strategy type games on the computer when I was young, and among those strategy games was Warcraft. That's before it became popular with World of Warcraft and all that sort of stuff as it is today. And that sort of sparked ideas in my mind. It's just sort of, over time, those ideas just developed, and I became, I thought of my own, own take of a different sort of storyline, and it just sort of blew from there. And I sort of always had a start point in mind and a finish point in mind. But as far as the in-between, I sort of let my characters guide me as I write. I try to think about how my characters are going to react to a certain situation. So I'll put them into a situation. I'm just like, how's Master Pilk going to deal with this situation? Who's a wizard? He's a quirky sort of wizard, and so I develop it from there. I'm just like, okay, I reckon he would do this. So I get him doing that. And
you play around. You let them play around themselves.
Yeah,
They've taken on a life of their own.
Always say that when I'm writing a story, it's like I'm reading it for the first time as well. Sometimes I'm interested into what's going to happen next. I'm like, what's his character going to...
So often you don't know.
No.
Often you don't know.
Yeah.
And does it just all pour out? Do you ever sit there, is it a struggle for you, or does it just sort of pour out?
Sometimes it can be a struggle, depending on my mindset at the time. It can be a struggle. I can sit there in front of the computer, I'm just like, nothing's coming to me, So I'll go away and I'll do something else, and then I'll come back to it. Other times, I'll sit down and I won't be able to stop writing. I'll be really engrossed.
That's amazing.
In the
You've got to
scene.
wonder where it all comes from.
Yeah, and it's a little bit based on what character I'm writing about at the time. I've got one character in particular who's an evil character in this, but she's a really fascinating evil character. Like she's she justifies her evil ways in a very clever sort of way. And every time I'm writing a scene with her, it just pours out. I don't know what that says about me. But
Yeah. Yeah, your alter ego. And she's female.
That's it.
And she's evil, but, you know, no judgments here.
Yeah, so what tends to that? I actually had characters in there in the first book that I intended on killing off, to sort of get the story rolling. But I actually fell in love with those characters. I'm just like, I can't kill these characters. I want to see where they're going to take the story.
It's amazing how real our characters become to us. Whether I'm reading or whether I'm writing, it's very real to me.
Yeah.
I sometimes wonder if writers have slightly less of a division between fantasy and reality than...
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I use... one of the things I love about reading is it's just an escape from reality.
Yeah.
You can sort of put your everyday life and that behind you, and you can just delve into someone else's life. And and particularly fantasy, because you can go anywhere with it. Especially like epic fantasy, like fantasy based on other worlds. It's
well, while we're still on the fantasy, who inspires you with fantasy?
R.A. Salvatore is my favourite author. Yeah,
right.
He's got his long running series of series, I should say, based on his character Drizzt Do'Urden and everything. And I've read all of his books, and he's just a fantastic writer, and
he kind of sparks you off.
Yeah,
that's who you're kind of competing. You admire him, and you're kind of competing with him. And
he certainly inspires me, and especially with his one-on-one fight scenes and everything. The way he describes them and everything is just mind blowing. If I can write half as good as that with my fight scenes, then I'll be pretty happy. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's quite a compliment to him.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we'll just take a break there, and we'll be back after these messages. Welcome back to Creatives on the Couch. I'm speaking with Brett Crandell, and we're talking about his first foray into children's literature, Phillip the Ferret. Tell me how Phillip was born.
I was actually doing a book signing event for my other books, and I had a teacher approach me and ask if I knew a children's writer. And I said that I did, because I've met quite a few authors and that around the traps through all the events and that I go to. And she said, oh look, if you're ever talking to him, get him to write a children's book based on savings, because I know of a few teachers, myself included, that have been looking for a kids book encouraging kids to save, and there's not many out there. And she said, it's part of the Australian curriculum at the moment, and we're really struggling getting books that encourage this. And so I said to her, well, I might actually give it a go as well. And so I actually started writing that day, and the event that I was doing was an all-week event. And she actually returned the next day, and I told her that I had half the story written already.
Wow.
on Phillip the Ferret here. And so I let her read it, and she read through it, and she said, oh no, that's great, you've got to go ahead and publish this. This is exactly what you want. And she actually gave me a few ideas of what to include in it as well. One of her ideas was to have stacks of coins that the kids could actually count as they're going along. So yeah, Phillip the Ferret has got, as he does each job in there, he gets paid, and he's got little piles of coins that the kids can actually go through, and they can count. And on when he gets paid for his next job, they can add that up and they can count the stacks again. And so it teaches them not only how to save, it teaches them counting, it teaches them sort of basic mathematics in adding up and everything as well.
And also ingenuity in how to go and get jobs out of your neighbours.
That's right, yeah.
All the characters were important, weren't they?
Yes, exactly, yeah.
They were really interesting. They all had personality.
Yeah, that's right, and they paid him sort of based on the jobs that he was doing, based on what they can afford to pay him. And, it wasn't always paid in money as well. One of them just gave him a hot drink and a bit of cake and stuff.
Some people were cheaper than others.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You just have to adjust in life.
And that's part of life, isn't it?
It is part of life. But why Phillip? Why the ferret?
I wanted a character that was a bit different. And in children's writing, especially in Australian children's writing, I found that the kangaroo, the koala...
The wombat.
Wombat, all of them, they've been done to death
Yeah.
by so many other authors and everything as well. So I wanted a character that was a creature that was a little bit different. And I had ferrets growing up. I grew up on land, so we actually had ferrets, working ferrets that we went out.
Are they actually native to Australia?
No, they're not.
Oh,
but
right. So that's rather bold and brazen of you to choose a non-native. That's rather
Yes.
left of centre, because everyone's trying to be so
That's
indigenous.
correct. Yeah. But there's also another reason why I went for a creature that wasn't native to Australia, in that it's going to be a future book of Phillip The Ferret, in that how he is accepted into Australia even though he is not Australian. So that's going to be another educational
Clever.
book that he'll do down the track. So
because he's a new Australian.
that's it. Yeah.
He's
yeah.
a new Australian. And yeah.
So yes, we've got ferrets in Australia. Yes, they're not native to Australia, but we've got ferrets here and they're accepted here. And yeah.
So that's why you chose a ferret, and it just came to you overnight.
Yeah, it wasn't even overnight. It was probably within an hour of talking to this teacher.
Wow.
Yeah, and I just thought, because like I said, I had ferrets growing up, and I know they're like a naturally inquisitive animal. When they are working, they're hard working. I know they sleep most of the day, so they're not.
Are you telling me ferrets actually do work?
Yeah, well, yeah. We had them working as have you ever heard of ferreting?
No.
So you go out and you put ferrets down rabbit holes.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they chase the rabbits out of the hole, and you put nets over all the holes, and the rabbits run out into the nets, and you've got yourself a rabbit. So
No, so you're planning to show his settling into Australia or being accepted. Are there other stories planned for Phillip?
yeah, another one is that in schools at the moment they've got, every school calls it something different, but one school in particular calls it the buddy bench, which is a really interesting concept that they're bringing into schools, in that when a kid's feeling lonely, they've got no one to play with, or it's a bit sad or whatever, they can go and sit down on this bench. And it's the responsibility of all the other kids in the playground to keep an eye on this bench, and any kid that sits down on it, they're supposed to go up and invite them into their group to play with them.
Oh, that's
So,
lovely.
yeah, so it's like a two-way thing, It's your responsibility, if you're feeling a bit sad and that in yourself, to go and sit on this bench.
So people know you're
Yeah.
you're not just hanging around by yourself because you want time out. People know that you're feeling a bit lost.
Yeah, and then it's the responsibility of all the other kids to keep an eye on this bench, and for them to actually go up and approach you and invite you into the group. So
That's a fantastic idea. Is that just new, or?
Yeah, it's fairly new into schools now. Yeah, so I actually want to do a book with Phillip The Ferret based on that concept.
On using the bench.
Yeah.
And another wonderful use for him would be defending someone who's being bullied or something like that, because that's a problem in schools that
Exactly.
I feel he could tackle.
Yeah, it's a big problem, and that's the thing I love about Phillip The Ferret, is that he's got, there's so many educational stories and that can come out from him. And
You could send him on all these missions.
Yeah, exactly.
He could even have an alter ego at night with a cape.
There's endless possibilities, as far as where I can take him, and at the moment the response for Phillip has been fantastic.
Really, with
there's-
schools,
yeah,
you've got
schools-
feedback from schools already.
Schools have already started booking me in for visits and everything.
Oh.
And I've shown them. This here is just the proof copy at the moment. I don't actually have a full proof of it done yet. I'm expecting that next week. So I've shown them that, and they've read through it, and they're just like, "Oh no, this is fantastic." We're really excited to get you in and talk further about this.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So far, fantastic, and a completely different audience to The Gate.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
We'll take a break, and we'll be back after these short messages. Welcome back to Creatives on the Couch, and I'm speaking with Brett Crandell about Phillip the Ferret's first adventure, in which he learns to save. We should mention that he learns to save to get a motorised aeroplane.
Yeah, that's right, a remote control aeroplane.
A remote control aeroplane, which, of course, is as good a reason as any. Fantastic reason. We should also talk about the wonderful illustrations, because they really are, the blues, the yellows, really are gorgeous, by Laura Brock.
Yeah, look, Laura has been fantastic to work with. I came across Laura at one of the events, one of the signing events that I did. She's actually from Bendigo as well. So she stopped past one of my stalls that I was running there and introduced herself as an artist, and that she'd helped with some kids' books in the past in just like stitching illustrations and that together, but she'd love to, actually do some illustrations for a kid's book, because she'd been told that I'd published books, not only my own books, but on behalf of other authors as well. So when the concept of Phillip the Ferret came up, Laura was the first one that came to my mind. I'm just like, okay, I'll contact Laura about this. And like, she was excited like straight away. She was like, within a week, she had a concept drawing drawn up of Phillip, and as soon as I saw that, I fell in love with it. I said, no, that's fantastic. We've got to go with this. And she's just been like on the ball right from the word go.
Well, it's fantastic because he's terrific. He's cartoonish, but he's almost human. He's a ferret, but he's almost human. So he's got that, that classic look. You can relate to him.
Yeah,
he's just
exactly.
gorgeous.
Yeah, and he's got such a personality. Some of the facial expressions that she does of Phillip, like when he's first told that his mum won't buy him the toy, the sad expression on his face, you can just like, feel it. It's like,
takes you back.
It takes your heart out.
It takes you back to that first no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she really brings the facial expressions out of the characters.
Also the landscape she does. It's
they're
so
fantastic.
vibrant.
The colours that she uses, the like Australian native sort of colours and everything. And she just brings it out in such a marvellous way. And
she's really got her own style too, which is lovely.
Yeah, she's going above and beyond. She's now doing like line art and stuff, so we've got something to give to kids to colour in.
That's what we should talk about. What are the other activities you've got on the website and for children in schools?
Yeah, so we've got a website for Phillip the Ferret, which is www.philliptheferret.com.
He's got his own web
He's got his own website, yep. On there there's some fun activities for kids. There's some games for them to play. There's some word search puzzles. There's some mazes that they can help Phillip find the gold coins, little things like that. And these are all things that schools can use as well, so they can log on to the website and just print out these little activities for the kids to use in classrooms. And we'll be doing those sorts of things in schools as well, when we're going to be visiting schools and reading Phillip the Ferret and meeting all the kids. I think that he's got such educational value about him. I think kids can learn a lot from him, because he's pretty much just like every other kid out there. He goes about his things. He gets sad when he's told no, but he's got a bit of a go-getter attitude as well.
He's enterprising.
Yeah, exactly. He's just like, yes, I've been told no. Mummy's given me an idea of how I can achieve my goal of getting this toy. So I'm going to go out and do it. So the very next day he's out there and he's working hard to
achieve his
dreams. So I think that there's a very important message to get across to kids. If they've got something that they really want to achieve in life,
you can work for it.
Work for it, and you'll eventually get there. It might not happen overnight, but it will happen, as they say. So,
so long as you make it fun for them, and also if they feel they've got a friend, an ally, and all his other friends, they were fun too.
Exactly.
The fox, especially the fox, the snake. They're all fun friends, and they were some of them Indigenous, but not all. But so it was fantastic.
And Phillip the Ferret is just such an easy character, I think, to to imagine for the kids.
Especially the way he's been drawn. And is that the way you saw him in your head? More ferrety.
I reckon it's probably almost better than what I imagined.
Yeah.
So when I first saw him, I just fell in love with him. I was like,
because he's got enough humanness, walking upright and
Look, I gave Laura a few ideas of how I sort of wanted him to look. And like the ideas I gave her were quite detailed and everything. So I was just like, if she doesn't quite achieve that, then I'll still be fine with it. When she came up with this, I'm just like, that's like better than I imagined. She's gone above and beyond what
it's fantastic.
The examples I gave her. So I just fell in love with him straight away, and I hope all the kids in that do as well.
Well, the next step for Phillip the Ferret should be television, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
You want to get another few adventures out for him, so there's a nice series.
Yeah, yeah, no, certainly, yeah, yeah.
So how do you fit your writing in with all your other work, or are you finding that you're just focusing on writing these days?
It's very difficult actually because, yeah, I work full-time as a youth justice worker, so that takes up a lot of time. I've got Oz Authors, which is a small publishing business, so I publish books on behalf of other Australian authors and that as well.
Oz Authors.
Oz Authors, yeah. So that takes up some of my time. Like, it's only a small publishing business, but it still has, has a lot of work to go into that. And then, yeah, I've got me fantasy writing, which has been on hold for a little while I've been working
because
on...
Phillip the Ferret has taken over.
Yeah, he's sort of taken precedence. He's just said, how about me? So write me. So.
But this must be kind of like fun. I'm not saying it's easy, but it must be fun compared to the fantasy work.
Yeah, look, I was really surprised with how easy it was to write the story of Phillip the Ferret. Like I said earlier, I'm not good at writing short stories. But this one here, being a rhyming story, made it easier for me to keep short, and still, kept it moving along quite well. So
and kids love that.
Yeah.
Short, to the point, easy to read,
yeah.
accessible.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah.
Well, we should also mention where we can get The Gate, so that your series also is promoted
so,
here.
Yep, the Gate series, all those books are available on all major online bookstores, so Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all those major online bookstores. As well as that, it's available at www.bncrandell.com. There you can order signed copies of any of the books. And Phillip the Ferret, as I mentioned before, was philliptheferret.com. Once again, you can get signed copies from both myself and from Laura.
Fantastic.
From that website as well. Yeah, and Phillip the Ferret will also be available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and all them.
Fabulous. Yeah. Well, I wish you the best of luck with both series, and just looking forward to more adventures from Phillip the Ferret.
Yep.
Thank you so much for coming and talking to us, Brett. Thanks very much and best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us at Creatives on the Couch. Look forward to seeing you next time.